let us look at some charts together and catch up, see what's going on out there in this very green market of ours. And we're going to start unusually with Intel. Just to emphasize just what a big pop this is. This is one giant price gap. Now, the red bar up there, newer folks might be confused because it's having a great day. Why is it red? It's a candlestick. It's only because the present price is lower than the opening price. That's why it's colored in red. But net is up 21%. It was up more earlier today. And I shorted Intel yesterday, but I did something a little unusual. After earnings came out, I realized that there's nothing holding this back. So I covered after hours at 74. Took a loss, but it would have been worse. So yeah, nothing life-changing, but it, not a good feeling. Not a big position, but it still was a bit of a shocker to see. So I don't usually like doing after hours trading, but this time it's like, no, I do not want to wake up to that and see what it's doing. So I got out. So I cleared that stinker out of there. And up it is. Yeah, up it goes. And the support at this point is way down at that price gap. AMD has followed along with the ride. 13.3% gain on AMD. Lifetime high. This sucker is up hundreds of percent just over the past year. Incredibly, this $345 stock was a cheap double-digit stock a year ago, and it is had this big blast higher, consolidated for a while, and then following this base here, this rounded bottom, it was off to the races. And you can see I've drawn a whole series of horizontals that's been muscling its way higher. And one stock we haven't looked at in ages, I'd kind of forgotten about, but ARM, ARM Holdings, also tremendous gains here, up about 130% since last February. So just stunning how strong these semiconductors are. And so this all flows into SMH. And I had some puts, and still have some puts on SMH. These are September's. $500, so underwater now. They didn't get as massacred as they thought they might because they were pretty much just out of the money, and now they're more out of the money now. And you know what? I added more. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I've got like 147 days on these left, and I more than doubled that position because I think I've got every good chance of this heading down to as low as 400 sometime before they expire. So yeah, took my licks on Intel, but I have more than doubled my SMH put position. God help me. Yeah, lifetime highs on that. And I'll also say, obviously the war's been kind of quiet today, it seems, but we've spent the past 5 days, basically from last Friday to yesterday, just this huge range that we're getting ping-ponged around based on every little rumor and tweet and contradiction, either for up or down. And if they ask me, how can we just keep this bull market going as long as possible? My advice is simple. Announce a one-day extension of the ceasefire every single day. And I'm serious about that because the human mind, the human psyche is very wired to idealizing what's going to be. This is like the psychology of a better tomorrow. And if you keep extending that, it's we tend to be optimistic. We tend to be hopeful. It's like, won't it be great when, fill in the blank. Paradoxically, the worst thing for the bulls, long term, would be the war is over. Here's the signed document by all sides. And the other sides, they're saying, yep, we signed it. This is real. We'd have a big rally for a day or so, but that would put an end to all this fluff. I don't know how long that'll be. Let's keep in mind the last time there was negotiations about this issue about 11, 12 years ago, it took 21 months of negotiation between two very capable and interested sides to reach an agreement. So we could be going on like this in perpetuity for all I know. But weirdly, this war has been terrific for the market and really distorted the charts, as you'll see and have seen. Here's SOXL. This is the leverage bullish on semiconductors. I moved this trend line here because it actually makes a lot more sense as a channel. So this was channel bound for a year, and it bottomed just like everything else around March 30, and it has tripled, more than tripled, I think, since then. And as I've said before, these leverage instruments tend to gobble themselves up alive if they are anything but trending, but this is trending. And when it trends like this, it's like mega compounded interest. You know, you don't get a 200% plus gain in 3 weeks from a leverage instrument normally. This is, you know, this is, let's just pound the table here, this is the 18th day in a row. Just as a gimmick, I was going to count to 18 to show you how much that is, because that's a lot. 18 days. Imagine flipping the coin 18 times and it comes up ahead every single time. That'd be remarkable. You know, what are the odds? 18 days. My understanding is that the prior record for all history was 15 days in a row. So we just keep making new historic achievements on a daily basis. So with those aforementioned 18 days up, you get this kind of action going on. The cubes aren't up 200%, but they are up. And this is the sort of weirdness that I'm talking about because we have been just unrelentingly pushing higher since the 30th of March. This consolidation range is a cute notation in history at this point, completely irrelevant to the market moves, unless we started weakening, at which time basically the top of it becomes support. But as it is now, it's just sort of like, you know, this little footnote. The diamonds, DIA, are weirdly down. Diamonds have been lagging, just like back in early 2000. Remember that, some of you? Back in early 2000, the Dow peaked on January 17, something like that, mid-January sometime, and became, and people were laughing at Warren Buffett for not, you know, making so much money in the techs and so forth. And that all changed 2 months later because tech peaked. See if my memory here is like March 26, something like that. Sometime in March, and then had an 84% wipeout. Can you imagine? Can you imagine an 84% wipeout in the cubes these days? I can't. So the Dow has it's tired, and it's not making new highs, and it's in sharp contrast to just about everything else out there. The spiders are up, lifetime high, and same deal. Had a nice, cute little consolidation around the top here. And we tumbled, and it's like, I'm done tumbling. I'm going to eat my Wheaties and blast tires. So we're at a lifetime high on this one too, completely wrecking any analog that we had in the past on this one. And the small caps, IWM, are also up. I don't think maybe lifetime high, certainly close to it, but they're up a little shy of 0.5%. And then China, by way of FXI, still has a cool little right triangle top right there. I took profits on FXI and some other items. I've trimmed back to about just a nice even 100% commitment level now across 27 positions. So yeah, there we sit. I also took profits on my miners, GDX. Here's gold, GLD. And I still think gold's going to go down. I still think silver and platinum and palladium are going to go down, and probably miners too. But I'm trimming risk here and there. I'm taking profits here and there. And I just felt GDX has done a good job. So maybe I'll get back in. But for now, I'm cleared that out of there. Reviewing our weird duo of stocks here, just to catch up with those. And they have something in common. They've both lost about 75% of their value in a very short amount of time. Here's Allbirds, and we probably won't look at this again. It's just kind of one of those quirks in financial history. But yeah, this has gone from around 25 to around 7, as people realize that wool shoemakers probably aren't the optimal choice for your hyperscaling needs. And then CAR, which is Avis Budget Group, down again today, around 10%, having fallen from, I think, if memory serves, it peaked at 847.35, and now it is at around about 206. So approaching an 80% loss, you know, in just 3 days. Wow, that is something. Billions were made and lost in that. Can you imagine all the people, all the options and the bears and the bulls and the two funds that own it and so forth, and crazy stuff. I'm certain a really fantastic movie could have been made out of this week just with this one stock. Who knows behind the scenes what kind of drama was going on. that is just tremendous. A few items I'm short here and there. Like I said, I got loony that I am. I've got 27 short positions. A few include ASTS, which is down about 3%. Our old friend American Express, AXP, whose puts I dumped and have done nothing but go up since I dumped them, but I'm still shorted, so that's okay. It's not really. HPQ, this is down about 2%. INFY, which is Infosys, continues down also 1.2%. RGTI is down a little more than 2%. And so it goes. So on the whole, just glance at my screen here, it's about half red, half green on the day. It's been a profitable week. It has not been a profitable day because I got zapped on the semiconductor side to some degree, but we'll go with weekly data. And so it's been a profitable week. I will also note that Nvidia merits watching because it is getting close to a possible breakout. Nvidia, oddly, is not at lifetime highs. So Nvidia is a really bad laggard in its sector, but it's getting close. Another day like today would do the deed. Even half of a day like this would do the trick. But we're getting very close to the top of that range. I've marked it with an orange line right there. So just to wrap up, here's the NQ, which has gone up about 4,500 points in the past few weeks and has sliced right through that range like a stick of butter. And yeah, lifetime highs again, hundreds of points, like about 500 points today alone. As I've said, bear though I may be, I'm standing way over there away from the big domestic stuff, SMH puts notwithstanding. And then the ES has also been one of the weirder charts I've ever seen out of the literally millions of charts that my eyeballs have observed over the decades. This is freaky stuff, but I'm banking on Bitcoin. I have been building this position. I am all in, so to speak, with as short as I want to be. As long as we do not cross that gap around 81,750 or so, I will stick with it. And hopefully Bitcoin is being a little more honest with our prospects than equities are. But I think this is just a dynamite pattern, and we'll see if this pays off or not.